Hello, I'm Tom Lemmon, reporter for Accountancy Age, and this is part one of our new video series, The Future of Audit. Today we're focusing on technology in audit, and with me to discuss is James Brighton, partner at Deloitte, and Franki Hackett, head of audit and ethics at audit tech firm Engine B. Thanks for being with me today, guys.
Thanks very much for welcoming us.
So let's get started then. So James, if I come to you first, I think it was December 2019 that we saw the Brighton review come out, and we're thinking, you know, this 2020 is going to be the year that reforms come through, and there's going to be quite a lot of change for audit. And then the pandemic hit, and everything sort of stopped. And then it was a fairly quiet year in terms of any big scandals, apart from it. Obviously in Germany we had the Wirecard scandal. But do you think, James, do you think that the audit tech can help prevent some of those mistakes from happening in the future?
Well, look, I think the role of technology has increased dramatically over the recent years, and as I've already referenced, it's seen an investment in people, including specialists and auditors. But technology itself isn't a silver bullet, right? And it'll be the awareness that's increased from an auditor's perspective on how best to utilise that technology that will ultimately create a better audit quality product. And it'll be the auditors that will utilise that to get the best out of technology. And I mean, the way the audit product is going in terms of broader assurance, obtaining more information, sub-ledger transactional data, looking at that deeper understanding of the client using data, all of those things are going to enhance that future product. A lot of my background has been based in broader assurance engagement. So I think what I see in some of the deep dive pieces of work you do for various regulations, bringing that skill set and utilising analytics and technology to deliver that deeper awareness at an early stage, particularly around transition from either maybe with rotation one with a different firm from another in the accountancy profession, or whether it's as you're engaging in new technology down the path, that utilising technology to understand the client in a better way, I think is going to be the way forward.
And Franki, do you agree?
Yeah, largely. I think we see two problems really that have led to the scandals we have seen in audit, and technology can help, but as James says, it's not a silver bullet for either. So the first is that there are problems with the market, and Engine B actually was called out in the Brighton review as one potential solution because it makes that transition between different audit firms easier, and it should enable smaller firms or the mid-tier firms to compete more with larger firms. Addressing that problem that we have at the moment of competition in the market is going to be key here to changing incentives, and technology access is a big part of that. And the other is it allows us to change our approach. So instead of taking this traditional, very sample-heavy approach where, frankly, we as auditors know that any problem that we see out of the corner of our eye is likely to lead to a lot of extra work when we don't know that there's a real risk there. Technology can help us focus much more on the things that are risk, to look at things in context, and to bring in a wider variety of data sources, external and internal. All of that improves quality, but it only improves quality if auditors know how to use it, if they know how to assess, if, as James says, they're involved in design, and if we really have a technologically and statistically literate audit base to work on.
And what about the regulators' role in technology? Are they up to date enough with the tech developments, or do you feel that they're sort of struggling to keep up? Franki, if we go to you.
Every conversation that we're having, either with standard setters or with regulators, shows that there is a really big appetite to move with technology here. And of course, they've got to strike a really difficult balance between not rushing too far ahead while keeping up. I think there's a long way to go before this technology is properly embedded, either in the audit standards or in the way auditors are regulated. I think there's still a distance we could go now, but I don't think that we're going to help confidence in the profession by rushing to adopt technology too rapidly. I think cautious, conversational-driven approaches that really keep our purpose in mind are going to be critical. And from what I'm seeing, the regulators are very up for and open to those conversations.
Yeah, because I've been speaking to people in the past, and there is this sort of frustration, perhaps, that the regulators are a bit slow to put in their work, you know, to put in the tech into the regulation. Is that something that you're frustrated with, James, or do you find they're okay?
I mean, from my perspective, I think they're very engaged. I mean, over the last 5 years, I've interacted regularly with them, participated in thematic reviews. I think, you know, I mean, I think that there's a lot of interest in it from the regulator, and it's not just really about understanding what we're using now as well. There's a real interest in understanding what we're developing. And I've been fortunate to have the opportunity to demonstrate technology to regulators, showing not only what we utilise now, but what we want to work on, what we want to work on in the future. And there's a great energy and enthusiasm there in that interaction, and it's great as well because we get a chance to do that not only as technologists but also with auditors and them explain how they want to utilise it. And that early engagement, I think, is critical in making sure there's an appreciation and understanding of where it is. And back to Franki's point, that we definitely cannot rush it. I think that there is caution in the wind. I think a little bit with as technology moves at such a pace, the excitement level, in particular, I find it with my specialist group, the excitement level is very, very high in terms of engagement. But making sure you do that in the right way is important. And I think the regulators are engaging.
Great. And how do we think that technology will actually change? Franki, you sort of mentioned this, but change the role of the auditor, change what we do. James, if we start with you for that one.
Yeah, I think I mean, I've had the fortune to build products and solutions for auditors for quite a while now, and it's great to see the reaction from them when you generally build something that makes a difference. I think one of the great things about the role I'm in is that you get to see the output of that investment in auditors, and when they start working out how to utilise the technology in a different way, how they can drive the technology in a different way, it's making a difference to the profession, making a difference to their day. And I think that's what I'm generally seeing, and that investment, whether it's with the experience on working on individual engagements, or whether it's the training that they're receiving, the broad level of skill set that's now there in auditor, because the investment in different disciplines is making a big difference. And I get to see in close quarters auditors who want to then become more specialist because they've started to engage more and more. And it's great to see that. It's really evolving the way an auditor thinks and how they want to develop themselves. So that career path for an auditor does look different, is different now. And as I talk to young graduates now, they want to drive themselves to challenge themselves with technology, and that's great. And I think as a profession, just give them the opportunity to fulfil that aspiration is critical.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I recall interviewing someone who had been learning sort of Python and coding all in his spare time to improve the work he does as an auditor, which is incredible, really. Yeah, and Franki, how do you see it changing the profession?
Yeah, I think James's point about different career paths is really well taken. I was fortunate enough that I was able to train as a data scientist and as an ACA accountant simultaneously, where I did my training. I think that's increasingly going to be the case. I also think the structure of audit itself will change, which will change the profession. So instead of a particular time of year, a big workload around year end and that kind of thing, I think we are increasingly going to be looking eventually at always on. It's an overused phrase, but I think it's coming. Live audit, predictive audit, much more about risk and considering where an organization is going and fully understanding the complexity of that entity than the sometimes fairly checklist, actually, for junior auditors approach that we can take at the moment. I think that's great, but it demands very different things from professionals who may not need to spend so much time early in their career doing basic reconciliation or evidence checking, judgment maturity, ethical consideration, client engagement skills are going to come really to the fore. That is where auditors are going to add value on top of technology. Those skills are already critical. They're going to be needed more, they're going to be needed earlier. And I think actually the staffing models of many firms are going to have to change to reflect not less work, but a different spread of work and a different kind of work over the course of an audit engagement. And I think that we're already seeing some firms making that shift, particularly now that we're all remote and we don't have to be on site so much. But I think that's going to escalate over time, and we're going to attract different people to the profession, and that will change what we're for and what we're doing.
So we're going to see if we're always on, is that going to be harder or easier, do you think?
I think it will be different. So a lot of the stuff that takes a lot of time now is eminently automatable. So you don't have to do your basic reconciliations or theoretically even tests of detail. That can be automated. That takes a lot of time. We can take that out. I'm not suggesting that auditors will need to be awake 24/7 to receive risk updates on their client, but I think we might just have to engage brains differently, maybe earlier in the training process, maybe more often. And that for me is really exciting, because that's when we can deliver the promise of audit and really give stakeholders and shareholders a really good understanding of what they're investing in, what that business is really up to and delivering. And that I think is better for everybody, the auditor, the client, and the people reading and using the financial statements.
Is it almost like a real-time audit, would you say? Yeah. How does that sound to you, James? Real-time audit, always on?
I think there is there's a definite push to have more regular understanding of the client from an audit perspective, and a focus from a public interest perspective, that constant monitoring. I think that data and analytics allows you to do that. Technology does allow you to do that, and I think we need to structure the shape of the operating model to allow that more regular understanding. I think again, back to the point around on the talent side, I think from an auditor perspective, the important thing is to give them more time to focus on the areas they need to focus on, right? And that is to reduce the monotony or the manual tasks, and to utilise that skill set that they have and they're trained for, and free it up at an earlier stage in their career. And I think that's critical. So from my perspective, I think about what I can do to enable that to happen. And just you get that reaction. So whatever that takes to do that, I think is critical. And I think it is where it's going. And I think it will be not too far in the distant future.
Well, that's all we have time for today. So thanks to James and Franki for your thoughts. And thank you for watching. To keep up with the latest audit news, head over to accountancyage.com as ever. But for now, it's goodbye.